All right, now we're started. Okay, so everybody, I sent out an agenda last week. We have two basic things on the docket. Ops is going to talk about our pay rate increase, our fee increase that turns into a referee pay rate, and then we have some great guests that were at the NASO conference. And then I'll introduce them individually as they come up. So, Paul, you ready?
Yep.
Fantastic.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so history of where we're at until today. As you know, you guys know what you get paid to do different games, Rugby Colorado and Rocky Mountain Rugby. Currently, Rocky Mountain Rugby teams pay about $150 per game, and then in return, you as referees at center ref get approximately $75 of that, and then ARs if assigned to that match get like I think 25 or 30 of that, and then on top of that, you also get mileage. Rocky Mountain Rugby Colorado games, on the other hand, I think only get charged $90, and of that you get 58. So they've got a streaming deal. We queried almost every referee society across the nation and to see how they break down their costs, what they charge teams, and how much they pay their referees. And there's a glaring, we're one of the cheapest societies in the nation. So as you know, and as we're always kind of screening, there's a referee shortage everywhere. We're constantly, I'm under stress like every Monday, like, okay, we got a game on Saturday. Hopefully someone steps up, or you guys see my emails kind of remind you to get rep up and place a bid for something that we have no bid for or whatever at that point. So while I like rep up in some ways, in other ways it's kind of a pain, especially when it comes to being in a referee shortage and not really any kind of control over anything that happens. Now, because of the referee shortage, there's lots of different reasons why we're in a referee shortage, a lot of which because of referee abuse. Who wants to go out there and get yelled at by parents, coaches, and players for however long, for $58 for a high school game? A lot of times it's the parents and the youth ones that are probably the worst because they're not accustomed to the culture of rugby at that point. So in an effort to incentivize new referees, we are implementing, we're not looking at it at this point, we're implementing a new pay structure. Rugby Colorado will now pay $150 per game, and you as a referee will get 100 of that. That's $50 plus mileage as usual. The way our accounting system works, at the end of the day, we might even lose a little bit of money on it, but you get coaching and mileage and things that kit reimbursement. So at the end of the day, that $50 that rugby that we get as a society actually comes back to you for the most part, with maybe some minor admin costs. We've actually lost money so far this season. And also to remind you, or to let you know, in the summertime with Cowpie and all the mountain town teams, because of the mileage alone, we lose our shirts. So all that money that we make in quote profit, or that people think that we're fleecing our referees with the $50 to $75 we make, we lose double that in the summertime. So at the end of the day, over the course of the year, it's not a money-making thing. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, so we're not in it to make any money necessarily. We're doing this for the good of the game. But at the same time, we need to attract and get more referees into it, and monetary means are one way of doing it. Rocky Mountain Rugby, the adult leagues, not including mountain towns, we haven't gone that far yet, but as of September 1st, they will be paying $200 per game. And the referee in the center will get 150 of that. So that's double what you as a referee get paid for Rocky Mountain Rugby games, plus mileage. So hopefully that incentivizes you guys to get in and get into rep up and start bidding for those games that you guys are qualified to do. Both Rugby Colorado and Rocky Mountain Rugby. There shouldn't be any games missing. First games are this Saturday. Colorado Springs just put in, they've got a 3-game round robin, sort of, not even round robin, just sort of a tournament this weekend. As a kickoff tournament, there are shorter games, but they're requesting 2 to 3 referees. So if you haven't been in Ref Up for a while, summer, it's time to get in there and start putting your stuff in. Again, these price increases don't go into effect until September 1st. Unfortunately, we had to give them some time to respond, or to at least let their teams know to budget accordingly. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, not our problem, but they have not let teams know yet. So we're kind of individually letting people know as we have conversations. But that's, at the end of the day, that's for the home teams. Over the course of the season, on average, they have 3 home matches per season. That's the cost of social. So it's not that significant of a price increase at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, you guys are getting paid more to put up with everything. You know, the hours of training that you do during the week and the hours on every Saturday that you guys go out and put up with this and, you know, get back to the game. So hopefully there's more than just a benevolent reason to be a rugby referee going forward. So that's it. We are discussing more about how the Mountain Town pay structure will work in the future, because, like I said, we lose double the money in the summers, and we can't keep doing that. Not to mention, maybe when we first negotiated with them years ago, they were providing rooms periodically. Now there's none of that. So with average mileage paying out at $150 on top of the game fees that they're paying, you can do the math. So anyway, any questions about any of that? Concerns? Yep.
Mileage is still 51 miles.
Yeah, the mileage policy is still the same. Yeah, so anything over 50 miles is where the mileage starts. So
how will tournaments be affected?
Tournaments, except, you know, for the most part, tournaments are the same. You still get paid for mileage, because we pay a referee stipend for the tournament fee, and then mileage in Ref Up is handled kind of separately. That does not include Aspen. Aspen, your incentive to go to Aspen is lodging for the weekend. Just clarify.
And sweet kit.
ARs and CMOs.
ARs and CMOs will be paid at half the referee's rate. So if it's a club match, the referee is being paid $150. The CMO will be paid. Is that correct? 75. I know that the ARs will be paid 75.
Yeah, I think we're still working on some of the coaching stuff, because we're also looking at if a CMO does.
Right, that's right. Thank you.
If a CMO actually goes to the game, is one rate, versus if they do stuff on an advantage.
Yeah.
We're looking at incentivizing that as well further. So I'm not sure if we fully worked out or expressed that, but at the end of the day, at the referee center, you know, it's going to be better compensated.
And that comes out of the central pool. A CMO, it comes out of the central pool. It comes out of the Rocky Mountain Rugby funds, not from the teams. So we had to get the pay rate changes out to the teams faster than we had to get it to ourselves. And that is something that we are going to be communicating with Ref Up admin to change within the structure. What's up, Joe?
You say this price increases, pay increases to bring in more referees. How do you plan on getting that word out?
We just sent a letter, like literally that last week, to the rugby organization. So Colorado Rugby on one hand, and Rocky Mountain Rugby on the other. So right now, our most important thing was getting that out to the clubs that are paying for it. Now our next step is to, you know, utilize this to incentivize and get the word out. Come on out, referee. It's not something, you know, I mean, that's not number one reason to ref, but you know, we need to do a better job individually and as well as society to go out and get referees. And you know, one good way of doing that is Try Rugby has some, I think, excellent up and coming referees, young but excellent referees that we might be able to kind of keep in the fold, even through college, because some of them are getting ready to graduate or whatever. But you know, if we can pay them a little bit of money while they're in college or something like that, if they stay in state, or if they go elsewhere, then come back here. whatever, but, you know, we can start there as well. We got another until spring with them. But as you go out, if you find some people, I can think of 2 or 3 off the top of my head that probably in their waiting years of playing and still relatively young that I can talk to into, you know, maybe picking up the whistle, but I've been talking them off. So,
and also
really
we didn't come up with this, like, yes, getting paid more is definitely something that every referee would like to have, but this actually came from a discussion that I had with a current player who is not going to be becoming a referee. Her point was, how do we get less socially, economically higher level people that are maybe struggling, or maybe like, hey, I pick up the odd job on the Saturday instead of going out to referee for $75 when that's 3 hours of my time when I could be going out and working at a Starbucks or a shift job that they can pick up on the Saturday. So while for me, it's nice to get double my pay rate on a Saturday, we're not thinking about me. We're thinking about somebody else, younger or less.
Costs a little bit more.
Hey, Paul, can I have the floor for a sec?
Sure, Larry.
So I think the other thing you could really do that would help pick up a couple refs. I know there's a kid on my team, he's 21, just took the referee course, but he's not going to stop playing, right? So if we can, instead of letting the team schedule every single game at 1 o'clock, and, you know, this especially works well down in Denver, if you have, you know, a high school game at 9 or 10, a women's game kickoff at 11:30, you know, a Division III game at 1, and then the Division II game at 3, you would see, you know, some of those guys that are still playing, they could go ref a different division.
And that is definitely something that we have talked about. But right now, like, the topic of recruiting is not necessarily, I mean, we're just here to get the information out. We do have five or so folks that are here to talk to us. So we're just going to kind of move past that. But next September, that will be our main point, because we are going to be setting up our next L1 shortly. We don't have a date locked in for that. So getting someone from playing to refereeing and actively refereeing is something that we should be trying to do the most. But I mean, Larry, I would love to be able to talk to you about those specific people. Just, we don't have control of the schedule in any sense. So
at the end of the day, you know, if we, like you said, we have no control, but it would be nice if some of these organizations would cooperate with us as well, because we have had conversations. Rugby Colorado playing a lot of their games on Saturdays really put a lot of stress on us as a society, in that, you know, when they require 6 refs all day on a Saturday, and we've got men's and college games going on as well, that's difficult, you know. And so if we can figure out a way between all the colleges, all the men's and high school to you know, sparse all their games out throughout the week. Colleges I know play on Sundays sometimes too. That would be ideal, but again, we don't have any control, and it's up to their cooperation in that.
Yep. So that'll be definitely something to bring up as well. Keeping referees in the fold. Are there any questions from the Zoom, from the floor? Rick, too long, didn't read. We're getting all paid more money. There you go. All right, so we've got some guests in who Who would like to go first? I'll give you a little bit of an intro.
Whenever, number one.
All right. So first up, Rosalind Anderson. Oh, you want to sit over there?
I don't know. What am I doing?
You can stand in front, and then I'll move this little webcam in front of you.
Podium?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You can defend it.
Yeah. All right. That's not what I go back.
So,
Roz, tell us about who you are first. Yo. Yeah, we'll in a little short little ditty, and Roz, tell us about yourself.
love it.
Where you're
My
from.
name is Rosalind Anderson. I'm based in New York City, and I am the chair of referee development, the development working group, DWG, for the Referee and Laws Committee, RLC DWG. And we are tasked with providing development for referees. This last year was a lot of experimentation, a lot of exploration, figuring it out. Just so you know, for next year going forward, we're going to have a track of development for the National Development Group referees, the referee development, the regional development group. And then we're also going to have a monthly come one, come all national development meeting on some different topics that will be announced soon, thanks to Jamie McGregor. So that's kind of what we're about. And if there is more to come, but we're starting to build out development. We have a referee level workbook. We're gathering resources for referees. That's what we're for. It's helping bring people up. And we're working also on the L1, that material, to make sure that it's standardized around the country so that we have a more consistent product coming out of the L1. So is that good?
Sure. Great. Next is Amanda Cox.
Hello.
Sure.
I'm Amanda Cox. I am the WPL referee manager, and that group is a small group. We have 9 referees this year. We service the WPL. WPL is the longest running top level competition in the United States. They've been working together for 10 years. It is women run, women centric. There are 10 teams across the United States, if I didn't already say that, pretty equally split between the East Coast and the West Coast. And we select referees. You sort of have to live in a place where there is a WPL team, and that's so that we can manage the budget. So each WPL referee has a home team, so there's no travel to that team, and then the referee will travel to the other teams. When I set up the schedule, each rep does only 2 home matches. So basically no team sees any referee more than twice at home, and hopefully no more than 3 times away. Yeah, so it's tough to manage with that many reps. That's what we're trying to do. We use referee coaches. Every rep is evaluated after each match. I say use the term evaluation loosely, so it's referee coaching. And we have weekly calls where I have watched all of the games. Each referee has done an evaluation with the referee coaches, and we go through and pick out trends across the matches and what we need to work on next week. Basically it. We had 10 weeks of competition this year, culminating in the finals, which was pretty good. The Albans won it all. Yeah, I think that's it. Anything I missed? No? Cool.
Thank you.
And for people that Chris O'Malley was a referee here, and then that is the Colorado Gray Wolves. That is, so people in Colorado, Denver area are eligible to be part of the WPL. Riaan?
Hi, my name is Riaan van Greuning. I actually wear multiple roles or multiple hats. My one hat is that I'm the allocation officer for USAR Rugby. So I am responsible for making assignments in collaboration with the Pathways working group, which is made up of the different regions, partly what Rosalind told us about, for top level games that sit under USA Rugby. And then I'm also responsible for referee assignments for D1A, NIRA, which is the NCAA Women's initiative or aspiring program that's mostly based on the East Coast. And then I also do assignments for the men's Atlantic Leadership Rugby AARP competition. And then I am also a member, ex-official member of the Pathways Working Group. And I work closely with chairs, LROs, to sometimes facilitate exchanges or other needs that might arise. So I think that kind of high level summarizes what my roles are within the rugby community. So thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Nick Ricono. I know most of you here. I think I am the sevens referee manager for USA Rugby. We developed the sevens pathway several years ago with Mark Nelson himself and a few other people back when Ed Todd was around. The idea was to provide training and development and identification for aspiring sevens referees. We train referees all over the country. We identify potential high-level referees to do our club and college championships. That's one of our main focus. And we also take the elite group out of that and we try to push them to world rugby level. So we have one referee, Cisco Lopez, who's on the HSBC 7th circuit right now, and we have 3 more that are going to the Challenger Series circuit in Chile this coming weekend, 2 weekends, I guess, from now. So Kat Roche and Haley Aguiar and Joey Swaxel are in that group. So hopefully those get pushed into HSBC in the coming years. We're looking forward to that. And then we have a few other groups coming up behind them. So yeah, that's what our goals are, and hopefully we can get there.
Amen.
Frank, when you stand at the podium, you are.
Evening all, my name's Jamie McGregor. I've met a bunch of you. Please come up and say hello if I haven't met you previously. So my role is Senior Director of Training and Education for USA Rugby and the Referee Manager, dual kind of roles. Effectively, really there's currently only 3 people working on community rugby solely within the USA National Office. So we've got Jess, who's the memberships coordinator himself. We've got kind of half of Jonathan, who's the COO, and half of maybe Calder, who does communications. So we work on everything to do with community rugby to try and keep the game going. Currently, the big project that we're in the middle of is launching a replacement for the Sport Lomo registration system, which hopefully launch next week, and is taking up the vast majority of our time to try and get a better system for everyone, because the previous system was not did not meet our requirements. From a match official point of view, in my role as the referee manager, I have the great joy of looking after all of the 4 people who previously introduced themselves, and I've invited them. There is an NASO conference currently taking place in Westminster, and where the representatives from officiating bodies from all around the country and all a range of sports coming together, and we've taken this opportunity to get these 4 together to learn from other sports, learn from other people in the industry, to see what we can do to improve officiating. One thing we can do is pay referees more money, but there comes a point at which that has to stop, and we actually have to be providing proper services, proper education, proper training, proper environments, proper incentives to be part of a group, a whole range of different things that actually inspire people to want to be part of an organization, inspire people to want to continue to referee, understand what it's like to be a referee. And so we kind of need to work out strategies and ways we can make all of those things happen.
So with that in mind, given that that's our crew, thanks to Joe for inviting us along because we're in the area. There is an immense wealth of knowledge about all aspects of the game from the 4 people who are here. So I think what we had suggested doing, unless you want to do something another way, is just get people to sit up and we can go through a Q&A if people have got questions and pretty much it's all aspects of the yeah, they should sit up like members of the bench. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's not that at all. It's simply an opportunity for us to answer some questions. So if you've got any questions about any part of the game, how things are run, what they do, anything to do with the national governing body, feel free to ask me, and I'll ask for the Zoom to be turned off before I answer, or anything. I'd love for us to get into some conversations about on-field stuff. If you want to talk about different bits of the game that are, I think that's where it would be really useful. So, and with that, done.
I got a question.
Do you want to?
Yeah, that's right. As you know, we just launched a big effort to pay our referees more in an incentive to get new referees. Obviously, we'd love to get some referees, and part of the sell to get a referee, especially if someone that you think might have potential for a higher, the high performance group or something like that. Years ago, we had a pretty good concentration of high-level referees, including Mark and Derek, all these guys in Denver. And that's when Glendale had a pro league team and stuff like that. Now we have the Raptors, but they're kind of their own deal. Questions for you: if we have a referee that aspires to go that far, but without an MLR team, what is the pathway for that? Do we have to say, well, unfortunately, you have to move to a town with an MLR team, or is that something that they can, work here?
Let's answer that. You want to have something to say? Go ahead. You go ahead.
I was going to say the first place to start is your region. We're organized into different regions, and developmentally, the idea is that in the West, it would be you guys, NorCal, SoCal, Utah, Pacific Northwest, and then in Southwest. And so you guys as a group have a lot of great opportunities to exchange referees and put them on games that have exactly the right challenge for them, and find those opportunities within your region. And then once someone's known regionally, each region, and the pathways people can talk about this, come up with lists of people, and then those people start getting wider opportunities. And I guess that's enough for me now. You go.
So I come from a sevens perspective, and we find sevens, and I have found sevens to be a really good introduction to young and new referees, because you can get multiple games on a day, you can get multiple coaching opportunities in a short period of time, and really do a lot of development in a short period of time. So we found it very successful to put young referees into that sevens group and do a lot of training and a lot of upscaling very quickly. And sometimes they stay in sevens, and sometimes they want to move on to do only 15s, and a lot of times they'll do both, and we're happy for them to do whatever they want to do. But from my perspective, I think that's a really good opportunity for them as well.
So I'll have more 15s take on things. So I think it depends on your aspiration. So I think, if you want to be an MLR referee, I think ultimately having a team in your city is something that could help you down the line. But I don't think to become a top referee in the US, excluding MLR, that the situation, say in Denver, is necessarily a negative for you. That said, I think if you do live in an area where there is no top clubs, that is a challenge, right? I don't personally see Denver or this Rocky Mountain as a region that I would consider as troublesome for a referee to expand, right? Maybe Florida would be an example that I would have, where they have limitations in the top level rugby that they have, like men's D2, and their colleges really aren't up. They don't have any D1A clubs, et cetera, et cetera. So I think, it starts as Roslyn said. I think I believe that now that we have these regions and we're really advocating for the regions to work together, I think what is important is that there's more collaboration amongst each other in your region to really use opportunities to, give referees different views or different things. I mean, Denver or Rocky Mountain does not have a men's C1 club, right? But you have SoCal that's just across, not too far from here that does have some club rugby, but you have other opportunities that they might not have. So there's opportunities within your West where you can exchange. And that's where I think, I'm all for paying referees. I just don't think it's the end all be all, to be honest with you, because the society does have to have money to facilitate development. And I think if you put all your money out the door through paying for mileage and match fees, there's not a lot of money left for development. And the argument that I've heard, and I've been doing this now for 6 or 7 years, and I've had various discussions with societies about money. They always say, well, in some societies, it's the referee's responsibility for development. Because they say, well, we pay our referees $150 or whatever it is. So when a development opportunity comes, they've got to pay their own flight. And I tell you, 9 out of 10 times, that just does, 99 out of 100 times, that never happens. The referee disconnect, that money's gone. So if the societies don't pick up that bill, then the development, that cross-pollination just doesn't happen. So, I think that is something I strongly encourage societies is just don't think that just paying more money is going to be, it might help you to get more referees in the door. I think the evidence out there, even when other societies have looked at this, it's not the end all be all. It's not because you're paying more, you're going to all of a sudden have an influx of people that are going to want to referee. I actually, this morning at the NASO conference, attended a specialized session on negotiation, and the big topic was price. I will tell you what you guys are charging your clubs is higher than the majority of sports out there, based on the information that was shared this morning from some of the top high school and college organizations across this country. You guys at the 200 level is well above what these organizations are charging for officials. So, I mean, that's just something to consider. I think
that's also a rugby thing, right? Which is to say,
yeah,
rugby across the country tends to be charging.
Yes, across the country, rugby, based on the information that was shared this morning, is my knowledge of what LROs are paying. Rugby is above what the other sports pay. So, I mean, I think, and a big part of this discussion this morning was you have to work with your leagues, right? We can't price ourselves out. And I think that's, I see in rugby, in my area, I'm from Washington, D.C., we've pushed up our rates a number of times over the last few years because we thought that not paying referees is a driver why we didn't have referees. And you get to a point where the clubs just don't have that money, and we kill clubs, and that's also negative, right? So I think there's a balance. It's about a relationship. It's about both. So I just wanted to add that because of the earlier discussion.
Oh, I mean, that's an interesting point, Riaan, that you bring up, because I know that Potomac used to pay,
Correct. We paid mileage.
You used to pay mileage, and that's it.
But we spent $10,000 a year on referee travel.
Right.
And development, including multiple individuals going overseas. We paid over the years 3 people to spend multiple months in South Africa, and most of those referees progressed quite high, Brian Kelly, amongst others. So, yes.
There's a middle ground.
There's a middle ground, absolutely. Now we pay.
You pay for only 3 refs. Everyone else goes, hang on. Where's
Well, we did 30. I mean, we averaged about 30 to 35 different people going out every year on some sort of exchange.
I'm well aware of how well Potomac and their additional region MAR does. They are the ideal for a highly packed social site. Just with the region as the way that it is here, that, I mean, we're not looking, you look at the LROs nationally, but we're not looking at soccer in Idaho or, high school football in upstate New York. We're just looking at LROs and then soccer, all the sports in Colorado. So that's what we have to work on. And then the question basing off what Paul had for y'all is that Amanda brought up when she introduced herself was there's 10 teams, 10 WPL, and mostly there's 10 cities you have to be a part of to be part of the WPL and have the very in-depth coaching that WPL provides. What is being done for people that might not have as robust of a society that doesn't have a WPL or the next step of MLR? Because we have the American Raptors here, but that's a national plan. And how do you get from your local area up to being that spot? The people that are getting those Raptors positions are people that are already getting MLR look. So you actually have to get the MLR look before you get the Raptors look, which is the one that's right out right.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it would be wrong of me to say that not having a WPL team hurts your chances to be a WPL referee, right? I think that's just reality. I mean, I can tell you across all the leagues I mentioned, right? ARP, D1A, NYRA that I assign, like cost is a factor, a huge factor, like cost, referee travel cost, a huge factor in decisions. And I don't think that's going away. In today's world, like the cost that we're seeing for this fall is astronomical for flights. And I think if anybody's tried to fly recently, you should know that. So I think there's other avenues for you to, it's not just the WPL, right? There's the performance league. So there's sevens as being one, there's D1A, you have a number of D1A teams here in Denver, right? There's the ARP, I mean, hopefully, the PRP or the equivalent of men's club rugby in the West. So all that to say, I think part of that is you as a society will have to invest money if you identify certain talent that you believe could make it. You're going to have to get them out there. They themselves are you.
So talent selection is based on what the society can ID, not necessarily pathways until it gets to you are the tallest poppy. Like you're there, and then
to a certain extent that makes sense, Drew, which is pathways. Ultimately, the pathways group was set up at the end of last year, or I have lost track of time. We set up a structure that was primarily based and driven by the LROs initially, right? So the pathways group is not some kind of group of anointed individuals that have, no offense, to some of them who are here, but the whole point is the representatives that are on there are from the LROs, and the pathways group works with the groupings that are provided by the LROs. So there is no one on any of the lists that we have looked at that wasn't put there by an LRO going through with working in the four regions. So yes, absolutely, we rely on the intelligence in all senses of the word of the LROs to identify individuals, put them forward so that they can be further developed and given opportunities. Did we end up answering your question?
Yeah, for the most part. Just for everyone's sake too, we are increasing our fees and we are paying our referees more, but we are not increasing our development or exchange opportunities. We're still keeping open doors with our Devon Referee Society. We're trying to open doors with British Columbia, and we have good relations with Texas and California and all these places to give you guys opportunities out there. So right now, we have the money to do this. It's not to do what we need to do to bring in more referees. So
it's one thing to bring in.
We're not sacrificing anything.
It's one thing to bring in more referees. It's another to keep them here. Right?
Sure.
Which is what we want.
And then with just my thoughts about other sports, I might be wrong, but I know that most 12-year-old parents are paying about $4,000 a year for competitive soccer, and that while the club might pay $100 versus $200, they're also paying for like 6 games on the day, or something like that. So the scope of the work is different, I think.
Of course,
than a
you start looking
one-time
across
fee.
boards.
Like I said, our average grassroots team, the cost increase to them is the cost of social. At 3 home games.
It's about $150 to $200.
We're not pricing anybody out.
And I wasn't suggesting that. I was really shocked this morning when you know, the Georgia state organization that oversees all the major sports in Georgia was going down their list of what they're paid their referees. And I realized that my society of Potomac was paying more per game than they were paying every other official in the state of Georgia. And I was shocked. And the only one that was more than us was Texas. It was the top level high school official in Texas was getting $175 plus receipts from some. That just, it shocked me as a person that.
Sorry, what were the receipts for?
They get.
Don't answer that question. I don't want to.
Steve, do you have a question?
I think that's really interesting, like, Riaan point there. I'm curious if everybody else, like, what's the most interesting thing you've heard or learned at the conference?
If I can, the most interesting thing that has come out of this conference is that referees as a whole across all levels are looking for community. And they are very interested in how they are treated and the compassion of their management groups. The word compassion has come up like 20 times today. So people are looking for a place to belong, and diversity and inclusion is incredibly important. And they were talking about, as we look across the room, who's missing, and that's your recruiting pool, because those are the people you're not reaching. And then we heard from people who said it really made a difference because they didn't necessarily fit into that room. What made a huge difference for them was that someone had reached out and personally invited them into the room, and then the mentorship over the years. So the referees who are successful aren't just taking their course and then going out and pursuing the craft. They are guided, mentored, they have peer groups. There's all of this scaffolding that goes into making a successful referee. And honestly, that's where we're failing in the United States with rugby.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. That last point was what keeps coming up over and over again, is the ability to go out and, like, the recruiting portion of it, going and asking people, going and talking to people out in the community. You know, if it's a certain demographic that you're looking for, go out and talk to that demographic. Like, talk to the people that are, you know, whether it's inner city kids playing rugby or basketball or anything, go talk to them. Talk to them about being an official and what they, you know, $150 is quite a bit of money for a young kid, you know, coming up out of high school or college, as you have talked about already, some of your players. But just going out into the community and talking to them. But as Amanda said, providing that, you know, that voice, like that they feel accepted and they feel guidance, they feel part of a community. That's really what everybody's talking about, and that's the most important thing.
Rosalind, did you have something?
I did, and I'm just, it's so true what they're saying, and we have to, you know, it could be a little awkward. Right now, this room is kind of one way, and it is true. We have this demographic, and how do you reach those other people and then make them feel like this is a place for them to be? What Amanda said is so important. You know, as women in rugby, you know, usually the only woman in the room, right? So you know, that, think about a younger woman and think about how that comes across, or think about a person of color. And are you truly welcoming? Are you providing an environment where they feel like they're people that they can talk to honestly about it? Be sure they understand that point of view. So some of us are stubborn, right? And we can overcome, but not everyone's like that. And do you want to make it difficult for people, or do you want to make it easier for them because you need the referee? And the other thing I wanted to add, which was also a refrain today, no surprise, referee abuse is no one wants to referee because they don't want to get yelled at. So I don't know how you guys operate as well. Typically, Mark wants to say something first, but
A couple of points. The new launch of the database that could eliminate
Referee abuse.
Is it going to eliminate referee use? No, it will not. But
You're gonna eliminate the hurdle to register for level 1 courses. And on the, as I've already had 2 level 1 courses canceled for black. There's a hurdle to get through Fort Lomo, get transparent motion, hurting to get people on it. I know there are requirements that require more, but on their side. And then, assuming that launches, assuming everything's going well, we do have members signing up. What is coming down at the next project for USAR to encourage more of a concentration on rugby bodies? I was being invited to the summit on education, and I know that there was massive talk, there was a lot, just from like everyone's take on rugby bodies, that actually put it more on focus on that. But I think that from top down, I know we don't do whoever doesn't control the top, but the rampant amount of matches coming from top state down is overwhelming. And I think that, I know the RFU over years were trying to just eliminate that. They would require a campaign to launch match to like eliminate that.
Yeah, so,
I want to finish myself.
yeah, I was about to say, we can do work going backwards. Let's finish your thought on referee abuse
Great.
as the thing that you had identified, and then I'll come
Right.
talk about what the governing body can do for it.
That is super cool. So, but then what do you do as a society to make sure that referees feel backed up? And I totally agree with you about something needing to come from the top down, because of that example, but it was spoken about today as well. Just knowing that your referee society will back you up and that people will listen to you is important. I do know in some referee societies, there are issues either because the society doesn't back up the referees. In some societies, the person in charge of discipline is a member of the team that is the biggest offender. Like, so, you know, there's like lots of different pieces to the puzzle. And I don't know how you guys do it here, but just knowing that as a referee, there's someone you can talk to about it who's not going to say, well, maybe you got abused because you suck. Like, you know, it would be much, you need a different response than that. You know, sure, of course, you missed some calls, but they still shouldn't take it like that. So do you guys make people feel confident that, hey, you're going to intervene on their behalf? And maybe you do.
I know that historically, society has these things such as you have to put camera on sideline, you have to play in videotape stand. They had to videotape the stand through. They're looking at me like I'm lying. Yeah.
You are the coach.
We're in charge of the thing.
That team had to videotape their fans for a period to prove that they are not conducting action officially. And then all the teams knew it, or the fans knew it, and they fixed the problem.
Because as a society, do you ever have meetings with all your teams and the referees at the beginning of the season?
We offer that.
Yeah, I don't, because you do have some power there, right? Don't you have written agreements with the teams that you provide referees for?
Yeah, we have.
Right, so in that agreement, you do have the power then to have some different standards or consequences or agreements. I mean, it is an agreement. So I'm not saying that that's the magic wand. There's a lot more to be done. Let's say something like that. But, you know, whatever, control the control. What can you control? If you want to bring in more referees and you want to keep them. So what are the things that drive people away? I agree, money is great, but I could not care less about the money I'm getting paid. But I do not want to go out there on the weekend and get screamed at by some dude.
I think money is terror. I mean, yeah, I can do that. And like the form of attention.
Like, my son won't referee because he's like, yeah, for the same money, I can go do my other job. And no one else. So, like.
So I just want to add a couple of things as far as like rugby culture. And unfortunately, you know, being American, and that's what we see. You know, you just yell at the ref, yell at everybody, and that makes you feel better. whatever. One thing that kept my son in rugby that really got him interested, he was little, his first coach was from Great Britain, and he understood the culture, and he taught that culture to the kids. And, starting off with coaches that understand that culture. I know we got a lot of coaches that played rugby, they're from other countries and stuff, and they teach that, and you can see that in their players. But then when you see like American coaches that played American rugby, they don't quite have that set in them because they just maybe made it through college, then they became coaches or whatnot. So yeah, coming from the top down, but coming from people teaching not only their teams, but their parents. I mean, we got involved early on and we learned it, and now it ends up being his coach, our neighbor. But, that's kept us, trying to encourage him to play and keep him on it, but he really enjoyed that part. That's just the kind of kid he is. Now that's just all I want to say about that. And the other thing about, how about level 2 referee course? Just when we get to that point.
All right.
All you geniuses.
Yeah, we've got about 5 threads to try and tie back together. So we'll try and tie back together. 7, and we got 7 minutes. We'll circle back.
Well, we have until 8:30.
Oh.
We are not available until 8:30.
You can't keep me here.
Yeah. All right. Let's start with the magic wand. There is no magic wand, so that's unfortunate. So let's move on from the magic wand. The one thing, there are a couple of different pieces to that. First off, the issue of values, right, is an incredibly important part of the game and has to be, to your point, has to be taught all the way through. Mark's referring to a training education conference that we had where we had a big session on that and trying to inculcate those values at the beginning of any coaching and refereeing course. The keynote speaker at the lunch that we just went to was referring to the fact that they are looking to institute a campaign about values in sport, and that's their next major area of a target, generally because post-COVID they're seeing just the effect of terrible behaviour on, from people on officiating, full stop, forget rugby, but just on officiating generally in youth sports and other sports. So it's not a problem we have alone, obviously, and in some cases, rugby probably has it better than a lot of other sports. The part of the culture change also has to be, from my perspective, for organisations like LROs to Rosalind's point about officials knowing that the organisation that you work for has your back. That also requires referees doing something to stand up for themselves and actually reporting things, because in a lot of cases, governing bodies can't do things unless they actually find out about them and report about them. This is not the US, but I did do some stuff in Australia where we asked, we asked in a survey, have you experienced referee abuse, in a couple of different pages on this survey. And of course, the question was, and the response rate was through the roof. The next question, of course, was, did you report the incidents of referee abuse that you experienced? And at that point, everybody lied, because I had all of the reports of referee abuse that go through the system, and most people did not report something, or immediately, oh well, it wasn't that bad, or tells themselves a load of excuses as to why I'm not going to go out of my way, or I'm not going to report it, or I'm not going to do X, Y, Z, or I can take it, or whatever else it might be that goes through the minds of a referee. And that is something that has to change. And it's similar. I liken it to the process of discipline in this country as well. Both of those things are things that USA Rugby has to do better for. One, provide a mechanism for reporting of incidents and complaints that actually gets followed up on, that you get closed, the loop gets closed, so you understand what has happened and what has happened to individuals. And there's a process you can trust that actually deals with them. And it's the same thing with discipline. I've been told here that there are, maybe not in Rocky Mountain, but there would be many matches across the United States where red cards are given and no report is filed, nothing ever happens to the player. Everyone just goes, oh, well, it was XYZ tournament, whatever. At the end of Saranac Lake, 2 people got red carded. It was the last game. All right, let's move on, And that's just not the environment that we need to go on. And it's a snowball effect, because then the referees don't report these things because, oh, well, what's going to happen to the player anyway? So we're not going to bother reporting them, and we're not going to do any of that. All of that has to change. The first step in that is providing from the governing body systems and processes that actually allow those reports and that stuff to happen. The culture change is going to take a lot longer. So are we going to be able to solve this problem in 1 year or whatever? No, it's going to be a 5-year program, if not longer, to try and change some of the culture and the trust that you have, that if you bother putting in a report, something will be done about it. Or if you put in a red card, if you actually fill out the report, that will be action. All of that has to change, and that's going to take ages, would be what I would say for that. To Mark's point about the course, I'm aware of the issue about Sport Lomo being a tricky one to get into, and hopefully if the new system is a lot easier for people to log into and register and go through into the Learning Center, then hopefully that will grease some of those skids. However, I will say that this weekend in Wisconsin, they filled a level 2 course with 16 people, even though we had 10 spots. They filled a level 1 course with 7 with another 15 spots. They filled their level 1 coaching course to completion, and they filled a level 2 coaching course to completion. I didn't have any problems about the system from those people. So that tells me that if you can't fill a course, it ain't because of the system. It's because there's either, I don't know, you're going to have to work that out yourselves, but there could be one of a range of different reasons why that is happening, but it ain't necessarily because of the system. I'm aware that Lomo is a pain to get into. So hopefully that will grease some of those. And, we're happy to run a level 2. If we have enough people to run a level 2, if you get 6 people or 6 to 8 people, we'll absolutely run a course here and make that happen. And to finish off, last but not least, what did I actually learn from the conference? There were 2 things that I thought were interesting. One was somebody made a comment, I spoke to these guys about it, that year 1 was the most difficult for a match official, and I hadn't really, I mean, it's obvious, but I hadn't really thought about it in the sense of maybe, if you can get people through and provide them enough resources in year 1, you probably got them for, if they can get through the first year as an official. So providing more resources to first year referees was an important thing that jumped out at me as something that I think, we've been talking about getting people into courses. How do we then keep them? Once you've been around a bunch of seasons, then we've got the issues of referee abuse and money and travel and time and family and all that kind of stuff. But just getting people through the first season, I think if we can institutionally put more resources into that, that'd be good. Anyway, I think I've dealt with all of the threads so far, so I'll shut up now. Thank you.
There was one thing that I heard today that was pretty interesting. Just a sentence that said, the behavior that we allow is the behavior that becomes acceptable. So if you empower referees to deal with abusive behavior, rather than saying, well, you need to have thicker skin, or that the old thought process of you can't handle that type of feedback that you're getting, right? Empower your referees to be able to report that and support them when they do report it. I think that's a huge part of it.
I was just going to add, another thing that we heard from a number of the national organizations is that their boards are putting referees as a priority because of retention and recruitment and abuse. And this is becoming a very major topic for volleyball was one of them that spoke this morning from the top level, that, for them, this is a priority because they have issues. So I think it is something that, not just us, but this is where the relationship with the union becomes so important, because we are only one piece of this puzzle. You have to get the union to also support and advocate, not just USA Rugby, but also, your constituents. And they have to understand from their board level why, referee abuse is destructive, because it's the common message across all the sports. Referee abuse is driving away referees. Coming out of COVID, people left that used to referee because they realized how much time they're spending and there's now better things to do. And they're struggling to get new people to come because of referee abuse. And if we don't solve these issues, not just us, across everybody is going to have problems across this country.
I just want to close that loop back to what you said before about recruitment also. So I look at this room and I'm just looking at this room, how many people in here do the high level games? playoff games or the semis? Are any of you those referees? Was only Joe?
No,
Only Joe Burko. Okay, so one of the points was made in one of the, we had an extended discussion about how we provide the pathways, because young people want to know that there's something for them, which is what you're asking, where do we find those opportunities? And region-wise, you do have them. And I love that, like, you have other exchanges, but just in your region, you guys have a lot of opportunities to help each other out. But like one of the, I forget the sport now, I'm so sorry, but they have a rule where if you've done semis or playoffs one year, you don't get to do them next year. They make sure that they cycle people through and that they open up those opportunities for some of the up and comers. Just think about it as you're doing it time. Do you know, do some people hold on to things that they have, or are some of you willing to give up those opportunities?
We don't do we don't have a minor.
Okay. You do
We use rep-up.
that's it.
So
So then but that was from the way it's set up, right? You can set it up so that certain things, I know that he has the little toggles to give you some more power as well.
We are working to make sure that
Yeah.
the full pool is utilized and make sure that we've got everybody involved to their highest capacity. But one of the things that we are trying to do right now is make sure that that pool is deep. Because as it stands right now, I think we have 25 people that are regularly active.
Because they said it in that room and it's with other societies and in you, is that sometimes it's just like, new people feel like there's no way in. They're never gonna get it. There are people who have it and that's the end of it. So anyway, I don't know if that's for you.
Yeah, so one of the things I think that's really important to look at is, what are the barriers to participation? So you guys should look at who is in the room tonight, and what is the barrier to the younger referees showing up to this meeting? Is it at a bad time? Like, are they doing something else? Do they not want in-person meetings? Are they all online and so I just can't see them? But like, where is that depth? And that's something you have to solve. Yeah, all of us, sorry, yeah, we have problems across the country and across all referee groups.
Yeah, I can tell you that.
Yeah, thank you, sorry.
I just have something to say regarding refugees. Just so you know, us as society leadership will back you 100%. And if you don't know, Rugby Colorado has a code of conduct that has to be signed by parents of every player that's out there on the field, as well as coaches and officials and all of that. So at least there's teeth in that. So if you get ref abuse, do not be afraid to tell it to us, because we will go to the LRO and there will be a disciplinary process, because we can't afford to lose any of you for this. And I know, my level of ref abuse or Joe's level of ref abuse might be different than a 20-year-old level of ref abuse. And we all have different kind of spectrum on what we can handle and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like you said, don't tolerate it, period.
It's actually incumbent, which is really weird, but it's actually incumbent on the people who are capable, because they are experienced, of dealing with the abuse that they receive. It's actually, those are the people that need to report it, because they're comfortable in where they're at, and they're the ones that can actually start that process and know that their position within the society and within the region are actually secure. It's the people who would feel the worst about incidents of referee abuse, who are also the least likely to be the ones to stick their neck out and make a big fuss about stuff. Whereas it's senior referees that need to make the fuss to begin with in order for the culture to change. So, and that, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone in particular, but that is just the way that it works. That in some cases, the people who traditionally have been able to, deal with it the best, have to actually bring their tolerance levels back and go, you know what, I'm not putting up with this level. I'm putting up with this level because it'll help out this next referee who isn't in the same position that I am to be able to deal with that. So it's on us as the senior people to actually start that process and change that culture.
Yeah, and
All right.
pair it out with what Paul said, please send in, there are ways to report each an individual. Please through wrap up. Also, if you feel like that's not immediate enough, every email has my phone number in there. And if it, if you can't get a hold of me for some reason, Paul has it in his as well. Don't wait 4 years to report something. basically of the weekend. And then you can.
We had a, Joe, we had a,
Texas, many moons ago, I lived in Texas, and they had a program where we would visit every team at least once a season, somebody from the society plus a bunch of referees to go out to the practice. And their practice teams just show up, we answer all the questions, help them with some game management and all of that, and one of the topics was referee review. Those are the people who see it, because if you go into the coaches and say, hey, you need to talk to every player about this, that it never gets down to the last guy. It just never gets. So that's one way, and that did change. It did change the system quite a bit, where everybody was knowledgeable about what the penalties would be for referee abuse. This is what you get. This is what you get. And but when he did break down was shame with Texas is the committee would always be lenient on it. It was never as books that break down. But he did change culture a little bit with every player that was in that society knew the referees protocol.
I think there's two things there. One is, sounds like your process was working on two paths. One, in terms of communicating knowledge about disciplinary and, you know, what might happen, but also the process of humanizing the referees by sending them out to the club and interacting and all that kind of stuff, which automatically decreases referee abuse, because we're all wonderful people, right? How could you not love us? And so if we go in, no, okay, sorry, Steve's not. All right, fair enough. But, you know, everyone else is a wonderful person, and, you know, we actually humanize people. Jim and I were on a call, not an hour or 2 hours or whenever it was ago, literally about how we grow the disciplinary groups across the country. At the moment, is this still recording? At the moment, there are a lot of unions, leagues, conferences where the boxers are in charge of their handout, in the sense that the people who are making a decision on disciplinary matters, the communities are too small and they are too lenient because they all know each other, and these things are not done quite in the way they need to be. So we're working on a couple of projects to grow the resources for each of the councils to increase the number of people, have more independent availability of individuals to provide sanctions to people, so that we're not just sanctioning the parent, so that the parent of the team. Yes, no comment. I wasn't saying that.
I heard the message.
Yeah.
Then one more thing, why can't we not bring referees in on their own time? Why do they have to wait for weeks to go into a class from other groups? That's one of the things that people don't want to do these days. That has changed.
I agree.
They don't want to mingle. They don't want to do that. If I want to become a referee, I want to become one now. So I know that will put pressure on organizations to teach these things. But why can't there be a program where you find a guy, yeah, I'm interested. Well, when can we come talk to you? When can we come teach you? And you do a one-on-one with that person, and you become good at it. What's wrong with that?
2 hours, 4 weeks in a row.
So there's two parts on what you brought up on that. So I really like your idea on let's go out to the state. Actually, that is not something that I have thought about. The only time has been the actual practice. If anybody has any more ideas like this, please let us know. Like, please don't wait until you come. I think that's good. Okay.
Do you open these meetings up to like teams to come to?
Yep.
Yeah, they just don't. Yeah, okay, cool.
And then as for, hey, I want to be a referee, we have a recruiting email, and it's manned by Mike Warren, actually right now out refereeing the scrimmage. So we have the ability to put on these things. We just kind of come up with an idea, and then we'll put it on something like at USA Chile game, and then nobody signs up, including USA Eagles, USA Club. So on that regard, Steve had one last little bit.
Yeah, I had a lot on the part, and like, I agree with everything that everything you talked about, like penalties, disciplinary, all of that, which is important. But I think it can also
New York started something.
Yeah.
We set up, I just have not been implemented, we set up something where referees could vote for teams like 8 teams a week, and we were gonna have a Friend of the Society award at the end of the season. And then
They pay no dues next year.
and yeah, you're gonna get, right, like this, and then that's a great opportunity actually sometimes for that little club, like, you know, maybe some, small, just started, younger team to get an award, you know, so there actually are lots of positive ways, and actually, we spoke about that some today, some of the speakers.
The other ones.
About, like, what do we want to see from them? The same way as a referee, you don't always just tell them, don't do that, you just tell them what you want to see from them.
Oh, yeah.
So you should sort of, there's other ways to do that as well.
That's a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Find some problem to do all that, but we don't need to do that. We don't need to let that happen.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And to humanize, right? Like
That's so true.
if you go back and go and whatever, and then 6 months later, you get the thing, they're gonna be like, whoa, I guess, right? But like having that person-to-person interaction, so have to like starting to build that, I think is, when it's positive, is a way to like reinforce that behavior.
So true. Definitely.
I got a problem. I'm sorry, but you have one last question. Just
Quick report. From the management team more, I guess, or from the thing about on for about it doesn't just come from Taiwan. Stuff that comes from inside. The outgoing retention officers of the society, I can say a lot of the faces that are in not a lot. A fair number of the faces are in this room. Say they got more chewed up inside the society than outside. So, you know, as a victim of.
When do you mean shoot up? Do you mean like on the sideline yelled at on the weekend, or do you mean like institutionalized bullying kind of thing?
Yeah.
The latter? Okay.
You know, I've experienced it myself.
Yeah.
It happened to me.
Yeah. This is a problem with referee societies. It's full of egomaniacs, right? You know, oh, sorry, not you, Joe. You know, full of different Joe this time, Joe.
Yeah.
You know, that is absolutely a concern. You know, one thing we've just done at this afternoon was we looked through the results from an anonymous survey that we ran of the National Development Group referees, asking them what their experiences were. There were some interesting answers and some interesting responses, and some of them, you know, you look at where the majority of people are. Others are really a call to, okay, pay attention to this particular issue or this particular whatever, or stop kidding yourself. This is the reality, right? Which you only get generally when people are answering things anonymously, and they'll tell you what they actually think. And I'm sure you guys run posts, you know, every season you do a survey or something like that of the members to what they feel about different things, but maybe there's an exit interview process that could be used to try and detect those kind of, from a retention point of view, maybe there's an exit interview kind of process that can be used to demonstrate data. So I haven't found anything in rugby as powerful as actual data. Like going in and arguing in front of, if I go into any union, right, from the national union all the way down to argue for something as I've done on volleyball, I can sit there and tell them, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, this is what's happening. You put together a presentation and say, we've polled all of the referees, here's a graph that shows X, right? And that number there is why you don't have enough referees for your match, and you need to fix this, otherwise. You just get a different response with actual data and evidence than you do from emotional argument and things. So the ability for you guys to realize, hey, we lost 5 referees last year because they didn't like the culture of the society. That's something you can put up in front of the society at a meeting or send out to everyone and say, hey, look at this. This is why we're losing. This is why we've lost 6 members. What needs to change, and who's going to take responsibility for changing? So, you know, those are the kinds of approaches that I'd encourage. And just nothing is as powerful as data. So if you can, and nothing is as destructive as just people whinging about stuff, right? So if you can actually give them an avenue to put it forward, and people will know that things get action, you'll be in much better case. Other than that, you're just listening to people. And if people don't want to come forward and actually say that was the case, then maybe they are just whinging and just complaining, and as referees tend to do as well, right?
I mean, I don't know, you know, I made it a point to call the door in the room, and general, from a management, national, you know, it wasn't just inside society. It was
Yeah.
People have beef with, you know, the national.
So one thing, guess what we're planning on doing? We've spoken about today. We're going to be doing, once the RLC approves of it, Riaan, we will be doing a national survey of all referees, just asking some generic questions about what their life is like as a referee. I don't know that there's been a full national survey in a few years, and so we want to get a pulse of what the reality is.
No, yeah, I just found myself saying a lot like, you know, refereeing. I had to stop refereeing. I had to watch it for a while for help. You know? It's fun every time I see it. You know, I was assigned with. That's not good refereeing. But yeah, go ahead. That's one thing. Second point, real quick, is really impressed with your Ricono. I'd like to hear a little bit about your workout program.
Oh, geez, Louise, it's called dad bod workout. I think the general theme was, I mean, you know, the general theme from us, from me at this conference that we're at, and the general theme here, I think is to get out in the community and be welcoming to people, be vocal about it, go out and talk to teams, go out and talk to coaches, you know, congratulate them on their good behavior and their community, and just be a part of the community. When people come into the society or into the group, welcome them, and, you know, make it a welcoming place and support them. I think have each other's backs, because like I always tell the sevens referees, nobody roots for the referee. Nobody supports the referees when we're at a sevens tournament. So support each other. You have to support each other. It's critical that you support each other as referees. Nobody else cares. Until we don't show up, until there's not enough of us, and then they care.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Great.
I just got a quick question.
Oh,
Internet.
Rob
Internet. Let's go internet.
from Phil. Go ahead, Phil.
I'm new to the region. I just moved here from the UK, where I've been refereeing for about 4 years. And one of the things that they found to be really successful there was their rugby coaching program. So the referee coaching program, where they spent a lot of time and invest a lot of money in referee coaches, where they use them at all levels of the game to integrate that kind of stuff. I've been a part of a few societies here in the US, and it doesn't seem like it's as much of a focus here. It could be because we just don't have enough referees to justify referee coaches, but is that something you guys are discussing now in terms of growing the level of referees that you guys have here, in terms of how much you're going to invest into like referee coaching going forward?
We do have a CMO course occurring alongside up in Aspen during Ruggerfest. So for a lot of us experienced referees, myself, we'll be taking that and to increase the number of coaches we have available out there. So
And that's
that is
also
something we're working on.
moving from a big pool of referees that we can then move people like Joe Zevin from refereeing to coaching full time, and having that, and Mark, like there is no Mark. Yeah, it's nice that these guys go out and referee games, so that way we can facilitate that game. But it's actually important that we're also developing.
To answer the question though, that is 100% true.
Yeah.
That the state's issue is not enough referees to cover the games. The people who would otherwise be referee coaching are needed to cover the games.
Yeah.
So yes, your experience is not telling you, you know, your experience is correct. We would be doing it if there were more referees to cover the matches.
Also, Phil, we're not sending somebody up to Steamboat. Sorry, Joe. We tried to send you up there, but that's kind of too far. But you will get a lot of coaching at
Video.
You will be getting a lot of stuff at Aspen.
So I'm not going up to Steamboat this weekend or next weekend?
No, it's the coaching.
Yeah, it's advantage.
You're going to see those.
A lot of advantage.
Get video.
A lot of advantage. If you can get video for those things, then we can do it. But give me a call and then we'll talk.
I can help you get video.
Yeah. Why don't you give me a call after this? Because I don't think I have your number yet.
You know.
we'll-
Yeah,
we'll-
sounds good.